No role plays, no conference calls, no BS. Chris and Lorenzo share 4 decades of combined experience to help you become a more effective leader. This is Hacking Your Leadership.
Welcome to Hacking Your Leadership. I'm Chris.
And I'm Lorenzo.
And welcome to this week's Holiday Hack. On these Holiday Hacks this year, we're talking about the top 13 videos on YouTube as generated by Google and AI and our own research on the videos being watched by Gen Z people both in leadership roles and people aspiring to be in leadership roles. If you haven't watched the first 2 episodes, please go back and do so. On this episode, we're going to be talking about the video Developing a Growth Mindset by Carol Dweck. I like this video a lot as a parent because a lot of it focuses on education and the way that parents can kind of praise or parent their children to set them up for success in the world. But it's mainly about how do you make sure that people kind of run towards challenges and feel kind of inspired by them and kind of take it the right way, as opposed to feeling defeated by them or feeling like if it's not something that they succeed at right away, that it must be something that they should stop doing or stop trying at and then just feel defeated and move on. I like this especially for leaders because I think there are a lot of Gen Z people in leadership roles or aspiring leadership roles that have been that were raised in both ways with parents who gave them the right type of praise and parents who didn't necessarily praise them in the right way, and it can lead to how they choose to lead their people.
Yeah, I love this video. I'm with you on this. I think that there's so many great lessons here that make a lot of sense, that when you watch, you kind of do a lot of self-reflecting, and so much of this just kind of pours over also into leadership. And just the idea of how are you thinking about not just maybe how you were raised or how this has helped. And I think that you can have these epiphany moments as well as you grow and as you develop, especially in leadership. Like I think of I'm a big fan of situational leadership, and I've talked about it before, but like the idea that when you're doing something for the first time, so while you may have some core things or beliefs or outlooks or perspectives that are heavily influenced by how you were raised or the circumstances around you, when you get into new roles, like a new job, like leading people, you're kind of back again at this beginning stage of like how you are mentored, how you are led, what is shown to you as what good leadership is like that same formation again in life around how you're going to be a leader of people.
Right.
And so that allows leaders coming in and leaders of today to understand this level of this responsibility to say, if I've got someone who's showing me some great potential and ability to have a positive attitude, influence their peers, they communicate effectively, like you see these things in them that you're like, these are building blocks of great leadership. What are you doing as their leader to help them have a growth mindset? Like what? Not just saying it, not just saying things. I see this a lot all the time. Like you got to have a growth mindset. It's all about growth mindset. I was like, but what does that exactly mean? And what are you doing as a leader to create a space for someone to actually have that come to life for them, and for them to connect the dots for themselves on how to stay in a growth mindset over time.
Right. So one of the examples that she gave that I thought would just kind of really hit home, she talks about the people who do not have a growth mindset. What are the symptoms of it? Like what do you see out of people who don't have this? And one of the things that she talks about is people who don't have this will attempt to mitigate whatever their own failure or lack of accomplishment is by finding someone who has done it worse than them. And I think back to my days in retail leadership where you have a leader that would come into a building to kind of like tour the building, and in advance what you do is you go through all the hundreds of scorecards that you have to find the ones where your team is at the top of, even if it isn't necessarily the scorecard that matters most to the organization. Because if you're not doing well on that scorecard, you don't want to talk about that. You want to let that you want to let that speak for itself, or let them find that on their own. If you want to kind of tout your own accomplishments, well, in a system where there are 100 or more different measures of success, it's easy to find a few measures of success that you are the best in or close to the top in, and just kind of like tout your accomplishments on that, as opposed to thinking about where the organization is headed and what the primary priorities of the organization are, and then owning where you fall in that and the things that you're doing in order to rectify that or make it better. I always thought in my mind that the leaders that go into these situations, they clearly see this all the time and they clearly see right through it, and to present it in a way that lets you think, yes, we did the right thing there. We convinced them that we were doing well because we showed them whatever number that we were the tops in. It almost is, it's almost patronizing to that person to think that you could pull the wool over their eyes into thinking this was what was important. But instead, if you take it from the standpoint of, this is where we sit, we're owning it, and this is what we're doing to make it better. To me, that says that's the growth mindset. That's not saying I'm trying to find how to change your perspective of me. It's I'm trying to find how to change what is. I'm trying to show you how I can change this process, how I can work hard and focus on this thing. Because if you have confidence in my ability to make these changes, that sometimes is better than your confidence in my ability to spend an hour trying to find where I'm already successful.
Yeah, I love that. And I do want us to talk a little bit about this concept of yet and not yet. But first, I want to give it up to a few words from our sponsors. All right, Chris, so I want to talk about this concept where Carol talks about the words yet and not yet, and specifically in the context of when the student has maybe a setback, and how language matters a lot when it comes to building greater confidence and greater persistence. So I'd love to kind of pick your brain on those thoughts.
Yeah, so I like this a lot too, because it's reminiscent of, one of my favorite leadership books of all time is The Art of Possibility by Ben Zander. He talks about giving students an A at the beginning that they then have to lose, as opposed to starting out with nothing and having to earn the A. I think this is really close to the same kind of same type of thing when it comes to giving people a growth mindset. Giving somebody the A at the beginning that they then that they're more likely to live up to, kind of falls along the same lines as telling somebody if they've had a setback or if they've failed, that it's not you didn't do this right, it's that you're not there yet. And I like that a lot, because yet it's an implication that they will get there. I have full confidence that you will get there. You just haven't gotten there yet. And this goes back to the idea of when you give a person praise, and if I'm a leader and I'm praising an employee for something, praising their hard work and their process and their focus, those are the things that make employees more capable of getting things done and accomplishing hard tasks in the future. Praising somebody's kind of natural abilities, like their talent or their intelligence, or their giving them praise on the results of what they did only, it leads them to believe that what they need are only to continue to show accomplishments and results. And that can lead to, the people I know who they leave organizations because they haven't been promoted in 6 months, as opposed to thinking this idea of the growth mindset says, I'll get there eventually, and I'm getting the praise and the feedback needed on the work that I'm doing and the process that I'm doing, so I know I'm capable of doing it. It's almost like learning to learn as opposed to learning a concept or a thing. And I think it's she talks about it in the concept of students, but I think it applies absolutely in the concept of leadership as well.
Yeah, and I think we've spoken about this before, and I love when leaders take on maybe a new experience or promotion or a new opportunity to take on some more expectations or some more responsibilities with the team, but telling them up front, like, I expect you to make mistakes.
Oh yes, I love that.
Like, I expect it, and like, we're going to celebrate those mistakes, right? Because I have full trust and faith that you're going to think about your values. You're going to make the best decision you can make in the moment. You're going to make some new decisions that you haven't had to make before in the past. And if you sit in your values and really think through it, you'll make the best one that you can make. But I don't expect them to all be perfect. And that's because you're not there yet. You don't have all of that skill yet. You don't have all that confidence yet, because you have yet to do the actual job. And so we need to learn through this and enjoy the fact that you're going to have those days when you go home and say, man, I really did a great job today. I feel really good about how I showed up. Like, I felt that I could do this and I did it. And then you're going to have those days where you're just like, is this too much for me? Like did I take on too much? Like how could I have possibly made that mistake? You're going to have those days. and that's a part of the growing process. And we have to embrace both of those days, and that's a part of the journey. And that's why, to your point, like it's about the learning that we're getting, along with the confidence that we're going to build over time.
Right. One of my most favorite quotes of all time is, "I'm not there yet, but I'm closer than I was yesterday." And I've loved that. I've had it engraved onto plaques that I've given to people who are in roles where I want them to succeed. And it's a healthy reminder that you don't arrive somewhere, that you just have to be a little bit better today than you were yesterday, and that inherently in and of itself is a win. That is a win, as long if you're just a little bit further along than you were the day before. We had an episode maybe a month ago now around how more than a third or 40% of leaders burn out in the first 18 months. I'll tell you, if you are a newly promoted leader, or if you've just promoted somebody, one of the biggest things you can do to make sure that they don't burn out is to make sure you're using this vernacular. If you're talking to them about the expectation of failure and the celebration of those failures or the learnings from them, and to know that that you don't expect the same perfection out of them that you would out of a person who's been doing the role for many, many years. That by itself will lower the instances of newly promoted leaders being burnt out or thinking they can't do it. If you are a newly promoted leader, or if you're just in a leadership role in general, and your leader, your boss, is instilling this level of confidence in you, oh my gosh, I don't think there's anything more important. If I'm thinking about the leadership roles I've had and being able to enter the role, the building, the team every day with the confidence that says, it's not confidence that I'm never going to make a mistake. It's confidence that I'm the right person for this role and the confidence to be here. That is heavily influenced by whoever my leader is and the confidence they're instilling me by the verbiage they use. So it's really, really important, and I like what Carol says about this.
Absolutely. And with that, it brings us to the end of this episode. This is Hacking Leadership. I'm Lorenzo.
And I'm Chris.
And have a great day.